Bama's first home football game is tomorrow, and so far this year's installment of the Crimson Tide seems to have a vast amount of promise and potential, like so many great Bama teams of the past. Our next guest knows a little something about that past. Lewis Bowling is the author of Alabama Football Tales, more than a century of Crimson Tide glory. Lewis, thank you so much for being with us today, buddy.
Thank you, Danny. Glad to be here.
Yes, sir. And the folks at home may know you from your other book, which is about Wallace Wade. But this is the one that is the recent one. Tell us a little bit about Alabama Football Tales.
Well, it's a combination of different chapters on the history of Alabama football. I start with the very first season back in 1892 and have a chapter on a lot of the different early coaches, such as E.B. Beaumont and Otto Wagenhurst, and
names
household
that don't
names
necessarily leap to mind with most
right,
Alabama football
right.
fans.
But all the way up to the 1915 season under Thomas Kelly, when a player by the name of Bully Vandergraff became Alabama's first All-American in the program's history. And of course, it continues right up, chapters on Zen Scott and his good teams in the early 1920s, up to Wallace Wade and Frank Thomas, through Bear Bryant.
Those are the names the folks are probably familiar with. There we go.
Well, certainly starting with Wallace Wade, and you know, winning 3 national titles, and Frank Thomas winning 2.
There you go. Nothing to sneeze at.
That's right. That's
Either
right.
one of them. Tell us a little bit about when you're doing research for this kind of book. How do you go about doing that? Do you call up the Bryant Museum? Do you sit around on the internet all day? Do you troll message boards? How does that work?
I spent a lot of time at the Bear Bryant Museum, and the folks there have been very helpful with both of my books. Ken Gaddy and Brad Green and Taylor Watson, all those guys are very helpful. And you know, you talk to as many people as you can also. And you know, Clem Griska, a name that many Alabama football fans know, former assistant coach to Bear Bryant, was very helpful also. So just a lot of hours spent here in Tuscaloosa doing research.
There you go. Now, you've written one book about Alabama football, and it's about Wallace Wade. After you complete a book like this, I'm imagining that you feel like more or less an authority. So what surprised you when you were writing this book?
Well, just the fact that, you know, the Wallace Wade book obviously dealt with the era when he was here, 1923 to 31, in an 8-year span. And of course, Alabama football, as everybody knows, is more than 100 years old. So there was a lot of history that I hadn't covered in the Wallace Wade book. And like I say, I tried to make fans aware that there was great football played here in Tuscaloosa before Bear Bryant, believe it or not. I think a lot of people associate the greatness starting with then. And Bear Bryant was the greatest coach in college football history, but there were other great coaches and teams here before, and of course now afterwards too, with the recent Coach Saban team.
There we are. Best not leave him off of that
That's right.
list.
That's right.
He's been a little moody this week. We don't want to give him any reasons at all whatsoever to get angry again.
Got to make Western Kentucky to be a powerful team coming
Absolutely, absolutely. It's, if you remember, you're talking about other great coaches. If you ever listened to Lou Holtz describe the opponents Notre Dame was going to run into, buddy, you think he was playing USC and Ohio State every weekend.
Top 5 every week. That's right.
So I guess that's the way we'll talk about him here on WVUA. Lewis, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lewis will be signing copies of his book today at Barnes & Noble. That starts at 5 p.m. And tomorrow at the Bryant Museum. That starts at 10 a.m. You can find out more about Lewis and his books online at lewisbowling.com. And